For our new folks who joined us today, welcome. And let me introduce myself again. I'm Meredith's mom, her troop leader, and most importantly for you guys, a registered dietitian. My name's Sandra. And we're going to talk a little bit more today. We touched on a little bit yesterday about nutrition and portions and that kind of thing. So we're going to take off on that and talk a little bit more about meal planning. And so today we're going to talk about how you take this knowledge and actually put it into practice with planning a meal. So I was confessing to you that I was tired yesterday and I went home and had veggie pizza for dinner last night. So what did you guys have for dinner last night? Anybody want to confess? What did you have? What did you have now?
We made pizza.
You had pizza too, but you made it homemade? That's fantastic. Well, guess what we're going to have for lunch today? Pizza again. So you and I get to have pizza twice. So that's, but we're going to make it in a different way. So that's fun. That's a really great idea. Because when we make pizza at home, sometimes we make the crust even, and you can do that really easily. But that's fun. It's a fun family activity too. So your family's all in the kitchen together. That's great. And another thing you can do, there are 3 of us in the family, so we kind of divide it in thirds, and everybody gets to put whatever they want on their third of the pizza, so that makes it fun because, you know, somebody might not like mushrooms, another one does, somebody might not want green peppers, so everybody kind of gets to mix it up, and that just makes it really fun, and you get to enjoy something that you like. So that's a great idea. Well, that's really creative. Anybody else do something? What did you have?
We had hamburgers.
You had hamburgers?
Chips and milk.
And chips and milk. Well, there you go. That's a great thing too. And we got some milk lovers. We talked about that yesterday, right? A lot of us like to drink milk, which is unusual, but it's really good. We're getting that calcium, and especially for us young ladies that so many don't like to drink milk, we enjoy drinking our milk. Okay, Cameron, what'd you have last night?
Chicken broccoli pasta.
Wow, that sounds good too. Listen to you guys. Here I'm going to talk to you about fruits and vegetables, and every one of you having fruits and vegetables already. That's fantastic. Getting the broccoli, the green stuff in there. And broccoli is absolutely, if you had to choose just one vegetable that you would eat, broccoli is probably the best one out there. It's just wonderful. Got lots and lots of nutrients in there. So, wow, we can just go home now because you know everything you need to know, right? Okay, well, we can go. Remember yesterday, I told you that they had made some changes to the educational program called My Pyramid. And, well, I'll hold that up in a minute. I don't have enough hands. All my helpers went into the kitchen to get your lunch ready. So we'll have to make do. Okay. This is a new program that came out from the government called ChooseMyPlate.gov. And the idea is to help you plan your meals a little better. And remember we talked about this yesterday. All of you saw this at school, right? It's probably been one of them hanging in your classroom, the food pyramid. We've been doing this for years and years now. And they've changed it and they've said, okay, this is one for good grief. This is one for pregnant women. This is one for children, you know, up to 2 years old. This is one for school-age children. This is one for athletes. This is one for women with poodle dogs. This is, you know, there's one for everybody. I made that last one up. But they have so many different pyramids for people with so many different nutritional needs. So they finally decided, you know, that's just a little too complicated. Let's just make this a little easier for people to plan what they need. So we're going to use these same categories of foods and everything, but we're going to kind of break it down for you and look at, okay, what do I need to have on my plate when I sit down to eat? When you look at your plate, when you're sitting there with this in front of you, what we want to do is kind of divide your plate into 4 sections. And when you were little, do you remember when you were tiny and you'd have the plates that had the little sections in there, you know, and Meredith had one that had dinosaurs on it. It was really cute. You have the little sections there. Think about that when you sit down and eat, that you want to have the different foods represented. And remember we talked a little bit yesterday about, that is about the portion that you should be eating at a meal. About 3 ounces is a recommended portion. And what we try to tell people is about the size of the palm of your hand. Now, Rachel, hold up your hand. Okay. Cameron, hold up your hand. Okay, you see a little bit of a difference there? Okay, but there is a difference. Rachel's a lot smaller than Cameron, right? So Rachel doesn't probably need to eat as much as Cameron needs to eat. So if you think about that, then chances are Rachel needs to eat a little less than Cameron because there's a big difference in size. And a lot of times there may be a difference in activity for people too. So if one person is a couch potato, they don't need to eat as much as the person who's running around, you know, like a crazy person all day. So we need to take those things into consideration too. But for most people, we think about the palm of your hand or a deck of cards. A deck of cards is 3 ounces. So if you think about that hamburger, it's close to the size of a deck of cards, so that's 3 ounces. But the size of the palm of your hand is a good guide for you. If you're a small person, then about the size of the palm of your hand is a good guide for a portion of meat. So that's one way to kind of think about your meat. But what was another thing that I told you when I held up that piece of meat yesterday when we were thinking about other countries? Remember me telling you about what they do in other countries? Yeah, that's what we found in a lot of other countries, especially Asian countries, where the incidence of heart disease and cancer and diabetes, where those rates are much, much lower. We have found that when they look at their diets, that they don't eat meat like we do. They don't sit down to a big platter of steak and a little bitty salad and a little bitty potato. They eat a large portion of vegetables and fruits and maybe rice and grains, and meat is more like something they season with. So they would take one of those pieces of meat, like you guys are holding, and they would chop that up and they would put that in a stir fry or something, and that would feed the whole family instead of each person getting a big hunk of meat. And that seems to be a much healthier way to eat. So that's one of the reasons when you look at this, you don't have a steak that's hanging off the plate here and covering up 3/4 of the plate. It's a smaller portion, you know, of the plate. It's only a fourth of the plate. Does that make sense? Okay? So, what are we going to put if we've got our meat here? We need to think about these other ones too. Let's talk a little bit about what meat could be, and then we'll move on to the other ones. So what do you have for meat? You guys can lay those down. You don't have to hold them the whole time. They're kind of gooey. They've been filled by a lot of people. Okay, we've got pork, we've got beef, and we've got 2 kinds of beef. What else could be your protein, your meat?
Steak.
Steak, yeah, steak. Fish, all different kinds of fish.
Chicken.
Chicken. Turkey, yeah, turkey's a really lean one. Ham, yeah. What are chickens' legs?
Eggs.
Well, people think that eggs are dairy because that's where they put them in the grocery store to keep them cold. That's the only reason. But they are a good protein source. And eggs are a very, we're talking about saving money and cooking on a budget. Eggs are a very, very good way to have a low-cost meal. Everybody likes to have breakfast, right? Yeah, scrambled eggs and omelets, quiche. Have you guys ever eaten quiche? Quiche is like a pie crust, and the inside is like cheesy, eggy, and you can put all kinds of stuff in there. You can put meat or just vegetables, or you can put like broccoli and ham or bacon. People put crab and shrimp and all kinds of fancy things. Really easy to make. You guys can make it very easily. It's not expensive. It sounds all fancy, but it's very cheap to make. One of those would be a nice meal for a family, and you have some fruit with that, or a salad or something, and have that for breakfast, lunch, dinner. It's a great meal. Another thing you probably don't think of for protein, one of my most favorite foods in the whole wide world. What did I say you're going to eat when you're in college?
Lots of junk food.
Peanut butter. Peanut butter is a protein.
Oh,
Peanut butter is a protein. Nuts and seeds. And beans. Pintos, kidney beans, black beans. Beans are a protein source for you too. So we talked yesterday about vegetarians and not eating meat. That if you're a vegetarian, that's what you're going to eat. Tofu, you've heard about tofu and stuff. Do you love tofu? Yeah. So tofu is one too, but that's something that everybody might not like, but you've all eaten beans, right? You've all eaten black beans, pinto beans, things like that. That's easy, that's cheap. Baked beans, just don't put ham in there if you're vegetarian. But even if you're not vegetarian, baked beans are a great option instead of meat, or have less meat and have, the beans and things on the side. So lots of ways that you can get your protein in there. So you've got that block with your protein. And if you guys, any of these you want to write down on your diagram there, if you want to write, hey, I could have beans or I could have peanut butter for my protein. Because you need protein to build lots of muscle and keep growing and get stronger, right? So you've got to have all of these food groups. A lot of times kids, especially in high school, will say, oh, I want to be a vegetarian. We have a friend who decided he wanted to be a vegetarian. You know what he had for lunch? 2 orders of French fries. Is that a balanced meal? What did we say French fries yesterday? Well, they're just fat. Basically, they're just fat because they just drop them in the oil and they just gather up all the fat. So they're not a real good choice anytime, but they're a treat, and everybody loves French fries. So we're not going to say we can't ever have them, but 2 orders of French fries is not a balanced meal, and it's definitely not a vegetarian meal. So if he wanted to do that, he needed to find some of these other things, the nuts and seeds and tofu and beans and things, eggs, maybe if he wanted to do that, some other options that he could try. Okay, grains. What would grains be? Bread. Everybody likes bread, right? Pasta. What was it somebody named Rachel said she really likes to eat with her dad? He gets a whole order of it when they get, yeah, rice. Brown rice, white rice, steamed rice. What do you have sometimes in the morning in a bowl with milk on it? Cereal. All the different cereals. Maybe not so much the sugary ones. What can you do if you like the sweet cereal, but you really maybe shouldn't eat the one that's got all the sugar in it? What could you do? Have some fruit with it. Or what did we do with your snack this morning? We kind of mixed it up, didn't we? I had cereal for breakfast this morning, and I had 3 different kinds of cereal in one bowl. One was kind of sweet, one was real healthy, and one was kind of middle that I just like a lot, So mix them up so you can get the really sweet one that you like, but maybe have some that's got more grains to it and that kind of thing. So mix them up and get some of the flavors that you like. Oatmeal, the cooked cereals and that kind of thing. And your breads, I bet you already know this, is white bread better or wheat bread? Wheat bread. Wheat bread's always a better choice. Whole wheat's always a better choice for you. Gives you lots of fiber. Do you know what a serving is? How much is a serving of bread? Usually 1 piece. That's a pretty easy one. Okay, so we got that one covered. Let's go to the fun one, fruit. Everybody likes fruit, right? You know what fruits are. Do we need to go over what the fruits are?
Pineapple, mangoes.
All that good stuff. Strawberries. Everybody knows what fruits are. How about dried fruits? Raisins. Everybody knows raisins. And there's lots and lots of dried fruit now. Dried pineapple. I love dried pineapple. Dried mangoes are good when you mention mango. Craisins. Yeah, lots of dried fruit. The dried fruit you're not going to eat as much of because it's more concentrated and it has a lot more calories in it. And fruit juice. Fruit juice is a good choice too. vegetables, your favorite topic. I saved that part.
Broccoli.
Broccoli, we said we're going to eat
Green
broccoli.
beans.
Which one?
Green beans.
Green beans. We're going to eat green. We may pick some green beans tomorrow. Zucchini. Lettuce.
Squash.
Absolutely. And what kind of lettuce is better? The kind that's kind of pale green or the darker green? The more color, the better. So the darker the shade of green, the more nutrients it's got in there. The red lettuce, the red leaf lettuce, that's got lots of nutrients in it too. So pretty much any vegetable that you're looking at, the more color it's got, the more nutrients it's got. So think about rainbow. We're going to talk about that in just a minute with your plate too. If you're thinking about your servings, how much is a serving of a fruit or vegetable? Now, if my little sister's not here today, so I can tell you this. For my sister, a serving of green beans would be 2 beans. That's not a serving of vegetables. A serving of cooked vegetables would be about a cup, and a cup would be about like that, right? That's a pretty good pile of green beans. Now, a salad, how much would be a serving of salad, the leafy stuff? A bowl, about like the bowl you got in front of you, about 2 cups. So that's a big fluffy pile of the what we call leafy greens. Does anybody eat cooked greens, like turnip greens or collard greens? I'm getting a lot of shaking and and our helpers back there. That's usually something that young people don't like. But you know something that's strange? As you get older, your taste buds change. And for some reason, as we get older, we start to like those. I don't know why, it's weird. But we still like candy and chocolate and stuff, though. We're happy to know you don't lose that. So. Last one is dairy. Everybody knows what dairy is, right? It generally comes from a cow. Okay, cool. Some other things, there's goat cheese and other things like that, but generally comes from a cow is what we think of it. So everybody likes cheese, right? I have met very few people who don't like cheese. There's another thing that comes from milk, and we have a lot of it during the summer. Ice cream. I knew you'd get that one. Should we eat a lot of ice cream? No, unfortunately, we shouldn't eat a whole lot of ice cream, although we really, really want to. They do have low-fat and even fat-free ice cream, and sherbet, I always say it on sherbet, is our sorbet. Those have less, they're more fruity, usually. They have less fat in them, so those are a good idea sometimes too. And guess what I remembered to bring today? Watermelon. So we're going to go make an icy drink for us that's just fruit and ice. So that's a good choice too. So you can make smoothies with more fruit and yogurt. Okay, let's see if there's anything else on here. Oh, fat. How much fat should you have every day? None? You actually do need some fat. You do need some fat, a little bit. For most of us, we get way too much. And it's really hard for you to measure how much fat because you're probably not just taking a bottle and pouring it out, right? It's mostly in your food. As far as the added fat you eat, we talked about like the little cups of margarine like in a restaurant that you put on your bread, butter on your bread and that kind of thing. What they recommend for guys your age is about 5 teaspoons. And we'll look at some measuring cups and spoons later, but a teaspoon is a little teeny amount. But that would include like salad dressing. So when you go to a restaurant and get that little cup of salad dressing, that's a whole lot more than 5 teaspoons just in that one little cup. So if you dump the whole thing on your salad, that's it for the whole day. That's no butter on your bread or anything, just if you eat that whole little cup of salad dressing. So that's added fat that you would add in to the day. So the best idea is as much as you can to try to cut back on things like that, but you don't want to go crazy on it because you're growing and you still need to remember that your body does need fat. It does use fat for you to grow and to build your bodies and for all the chemical processes that need to go on for all of them to work correctly. So you do need some in there, so you don't have to go crazy about it. Okay. You ask, how many should you have each day of all of these? What they recommend for you to have for, let's start with your, we'll start with grains because it's at the top of mine. They recommend for your age that you have about 6 servings a day of the grains. And for your vegetables, you need to have at least, oh, this is a lot. You're going to go 2.5 cups a day of vegetables. So do you get 2.5 cups of vegetables a day? Maybe if you have a big salad. Yeah, that's a lot, isn't it? That's a lot of vegetables. Fruit you might get 1.5 cups of fruit. A lot of us get the fruit. 3 servings of milk. You might get that because a lot of you are drinking milk and you're having cheese during the day. And this time of year we're getting that ice cream in, so we're getting some dairy there. The meat, we're recommending about 5 ounces. So, you know, if you're having like sandwich meat, a lot of times that's like about an ounce or less sometimes, depending on how it's sliced. So on a sandwich, you might just have an ounce or so. It's always better to have the fruit. It would be better if you had an apple instead of having apple juice, because the apple has the fiber in there and it hasn't been processed. So it'd be much better to have that. The last thing on here is physical activity. Should you be getting exercise every day?
Yep.
Ooh, absolutely. This recommends 60 minutes. This is a little guide that we gave you too that helps you a little bit to plan, because it says, now this says 2 snacks. You guys don't get snack at school anymore, so it's not easy to get that morning snack in. But it says like at breakfast, it's easy to get the dairy in because we're getting breakfast, you know, we're getting milk probably with our cereal or something. Fruit, you should try to have fruit at breakfast. If nothing else, try to get some juice, but chances are you can get some fruit with your breakfast, even if you had to do it the night before. Like this morning, I had cereal, and I had a fresh peach from the farmer's market. Had that with my cereal, and then, you know, the milk, of course. Protein. It's really important that you try to have some protein in the morning to get you going. So it would be really good if you could get up in the morning and have a nice egg sandwich or grilled cheese or cheese toast or something, especially with school. It's hard to get up and have something like that. And then grains. Almost all the time we have a grain product in the morning because that's just kind of what we have for breakfast. And then they recommend for your morning snack, again, dairy and fruit. So that would be great to have maybe a cheese stick and some sliced apples, or even just a glass of milk and some fruit. Lunch, the same kind of thing, but there we're going to add some vegetables. So we're definitely going to do that today. Today we're going to get all the food groups for lunch. We're covering everything. In the afternoon, they recommend that you have vegetables and dairy. So maybe that would be a good thing with, I don't know, what could we do for a vegetable and dairy in the afternoon? Any ideas? Broccoli with some cheese melted over it. And then, of course, dinner. Now, they don't include fruit at dinner, but we often have fruit with dinner. Last night we had cantaloupe with our pizza. So with veggie pizza, how did we do with our dinner last night at my house? We had veggie pizza, so we had the pizza crust. That was what group? Grain. We had lots of veggies on the pizza, so that was obviously vegetable. We had, what else goes on top of pizza? Cheese. So what group? Dairy. And we already had the vegetables, and we had some cantaloupe, so it was fruit. So the only thing we were missing was the meat. We didn't have protein with it. But there's protein in the dairy fruit too, so that gives you a little bit of protein there. So that worked out great. We covered just about everything, didn't we? So what you can do while we're getting set up for the next activity, which does involve food, I do believe, I'd like you to take this blank one here, and I would like you to write in some of the things that we've talked about, some ideas for some things that you would like to try eating, and not just, a grain or bread or something like that. Try to think of some specific things that you would like to try eating that maybe you haven't. For instance, if you've never eaten zucchini, or you've never made a quiche, also called egg pie for some people. If you've never had broccoli for a snack, something like that. If you would like to try that, write that into the categories here. And when you go home and you're talking about what we've done in our class, talk to your parents about, hey, are these some of the things that maybe we can try doing? Make your own pizza, like Madeline's family did. That's a great fun thing to do. Yeah, so something like that that you might want to try. Write some notes here on this, and while you're doing that, we're going to get set up for the next thing that I'm going to have you do, okay?
What we're doing today in the kitchen is we're experimenting with hot dog buns, and the reason I thought of doing that is because, hot dog buns usually come in like a pack of 10, and then hot dogs come in a pack of 8, and it makes no sense. So, 6? Is it 6 and 8? I looked it up online, it said 8 and 10. Whatever, Kashawn was arguing with me. But either way, the point is you have extra hot dog buns. And so I was thinking of things you could do with them. And they're kind of interesting because they're a weird shape. And there's 3 different things that we're going to do with them. You don't have to eat all that if you don't want to, but you can. So the first thing, as Mom had been talking about, is we're going to make little pizzas with them. Then the other thing is little sandwiches with the hot dogs, and you just orient them the other way and make a sandwich out of them. I always like to do that because I thought sandwiches were more interesting that way. The other thing, which gets in the fruit, which you wouldn't think you'd be able to do so much with the hot dog buns, but it's something that, have any of y'all been to the Great Wolf Lodge? Yeah, okay. Well, I don't know if they still make them, but they used to, in the pool room, they have like a little snack hut thing. And they used to make what they called banana dogs or something to that effect, where instead of a hot dog in the hot dog bun, you put a banana and you put peanut butter and jelly, or just peanut butter, whatever you want to do with it. And it's really good. So those are the 3 things that we're doing for lunch. And then also because you guys wanted to do the thing with the watermelon and that.